You don't remember exactly when you stopped being yourself. That's the first thing nobody tells you. They brief you on tradecraft, on counter-surveillance, on the behavioral profile of the man you're supposed to become. They do not brief you on the specific morning approximately 14 months in when you reach for your own name and feel a half-second delay before it arrives. It starts long before the operation. 18 months before your official entry into the program, a man you've never met is watching you. He watches you in a coffee shop in El Paso where you do not know you're being assessed. He watches the way you read a room, the way you code switch between Spanish and English without conscious effort, the way you sit in a chair not with the forward posture of a man trying to impress, but with the settled weight of someone who belongs wherever he currently is. He writes something in a notebook. You order a second coffee. The door to the rest of your life has already been decided. 6 months later, he approaches you. Not aggressively. More like a door opening in a room you didn't know had one. He says, "We think you have a skill set that's difficult to develop in other people." He means you can disappear into a room without taking ownership of it. He means you are, by nature, a man who watches more than he performs. He means that in a very specific context, with a very specific kind of training, this trait becomes operationally useful. What he doesn't say, what he perhaps doesn't fully know yet, is that this same trait makes you exceptionally vulnerable to what comes next. The academy is 4 months. The field preparation for this specific operation is 14 months after that. You are assigned a legend, a cover identity with the depth of a real life. A childhood in MOCO. A school record. A documented arrest in Tucson in 2009 that did not happen to you. It happened to a man now serving federal time, whose story was extracted from his file and fitted over you like a second skeleton. You rehearse the legend until certain memories from it feel more stable than your own. Until you can describe the layout of a house you've never been inside with the confidence of someone who grew up in it. Until the arrest in Tucson, the cold of the processing room, the smell of the holding facility, the name of the officer who booked you lives in your nervous system the way real things do. You are not yet inside the operation. You are still becoming the person who will be. Entry into the network is not cinematic. There is no single door. There are a series of tests, most of which you are not told you are taking. You make contact through a third-party associate, a low-level distributor your team has been running for 11 months. He introduces you as someone who moves product across a specific corridor with reliability and without drama. These are the two qualities the organization values above everything else. Not violence. Not loyalty. Reliability and the absence of drama. Violence is loud. Loud draws federal attention. You are presented, at every stage, as quiet. The first 8 months, you carry nothing and know nothing. You are visible but peripheral. You attend social events. You eat at the same restaurants. You are consistent. Consistency is its own form of audition. An unreliable man is irregular. An irregular man is a liability. You are never irregular. At month 9, a mid-level figure begins including you in logistical conversations. Not decisions, observations. You are allowed to be in the room when decisions are made, which is itself a form of trust extension that happens in degrees so gradual you could miss them if you weren't trained to notice. You notice everything. You record nothing physically. You store it: names, amounts, dates, relationships, the specific cadence of who defers to whom and why. Every night, in a secondary residence your operational team maintains, you debrief yourself into a recorder. The recordings go to your handler. Your handler goes to the case agents. The case agents build a file that is now, 14 months in, 412 pages long. Promotions in this organization are not announced. They are demonstrated through what you are allowed to know. At month 12, you are allowed to know the name of a supply-side contact in Sonora. At month 15, you are included in a conversation about a transportation problem that needs creative resolution. At month 18, the primary target references you by a nickname he invented. Nicknames mean you have a place in his mental architecture. A place in his mental architecture means you are no longer peripheral. You have ascended. No one handed you a certificate. The organization simply stopped treating you like a man who might leave. You cannot call your wife from any device in your operational residence. This is not a suggestion. It is a technical reality. Your residence is assumed to be under potential surveillance by the organization, and any contact pattern that deviates from your legend social profile represents an exposure risk. The protocol allows for contact through a single clean phone, held by your handler, passed to you in specific locations on a specific schedule is every 11 days. The calls last no more than 4 minutes. You are given a topic restriction list subjects you cannot raise because they could surface emotional responses that alter your vocal pattern in ways a sophisticated listener might flag. You cannot ask about your daughter by name. You can ask about things at home. Your wife has learned to answer in a code that isn't a code, just careful language developed over time between two people managing an impossible situation from different sides of it. She is managing a 4-year-old who is losing teeth and gaining words and asking questions about where you are that your wife answers with a cover story you helped construct. Your daughter knows your voice. She doesn't know your face the way she should, because you've been under since she was 2 years, 3 months old. Your handler passes you surveillance photographs taken by a team member driving past your house in a parking garage near a grocery store in a city 40 miles from your operational area. The photographs are time-stamped. You can track her growth in timestamps. She's lost 2 teeth since you've been under. You know this from a photograph taken on a Tuesday in March, in which she is smiling in a way that shows the gap. You looked at that photograph for a long time. Every interaction inside the network is a performance assessment running in 2 directions simultaneously. The targets are assessing your reliability, your consistency, your alignment with the organization's interests. You are assessing your own performance for something your psych evaluator calls immersion erosion, the gradual drift from performed identity into inhabited identity, cover drift. The point at which the role stops being something you're doing and starts being something you are. Your evaluator schedules a check-in call every 3 weeks. The call has a clinical structure, a series of prompts designed to measure the accessibility of your actual self, your values, your baseline emotional responses, the people you think about when you're not managing a performance. The calls are 40 minutes long. You've been told that agents who begin shortening their responses to the identity grounding prompts are flagged for accelerated extraction review. You don't shorten your responses. But there are certain prompts, the ones about what you want for your life, the ones about what you believe is worth doing, where the answer comes a half-second slower than it used to. You've noted this. You haven't reported it. The system does not ask you to compromise your identity. It simply creates conditions in which your identity slowly becomes less convenient than the alternative. You are sitting at a table with 4 men who have collectively ordered 47 murders, and you are laughing at one of their jokes. The laugh is real. That is the sentence that lives with you. Not the 47. Not the years of work that placed you at this table. The laugh. Because the laugh was not performed. It came from the same place. Real laughter comes from genuine response to a moment of social levity, and the fact of its genuineness means something about the distance you've traveled from the person who walked into this operation. You are not, by any clinical definition, a different person. Your values are intact. Your objectives are intact. You know exactly who you are and what you are doing and why. But the architecture of who you are has been under sustained renovation for 22 months, and some of the renovations have become structural. You have friendships inside the network. Not performed friendships, actual ones, built on actual shared experience, actual consistent presence, actual mutual regard of the kind that develops between people who spend significant time in high-stakes environments together. The primary target has shared things with you about his family that he has shared with almost no one. He trusts you. This is the operational goal. You know it is the operational goal. You pursued it methodically and achieved it. And the fact that you pursued it methodically does not make the trust less real on his side, and does not make the reciprocal attachment, the one your psych evaluator warned you about in month 8, less real on yours. Your wife, on the 11-day calls, has begun to speak to you the way a person speaks to someone who has been away for a long time and is becoming slightly abstract. She is not angry. She is accurate. You are becoming slightly abstract to her, the way she is becoming slightly abstract to you, not because the love has diminished, but because the daily texture of a shared life is built from presence, and you have been absent for 22 months in ways that go beyond physical location. The man you were before this operation had a specific quality to his silence at home, a comfortable, inhabited silence that couples build over years. You don't know if that quality will still be there when you return. You don't know if you'll still be the person who produced it. Erosion is not collapse. It is quieter than collapse. It is the slow regrading of a landscape until you look back and can no longer see the original elevation. It happens at dinner. The network has a regular table at a restaurant in a part of the city that maintains a comfortable distance from the operational center. The primary target likes this restaurant because the owner is from Sinaloa and the food is honest and the room is loud enough that conversation doesn't carry. One of the secondary figures, a man named Felix, who has been in this network for 14 years and carries the specific kind of calm that comes from having survived situations that should not have been survivable, asks you about a night in Guadalajara. Your legend places you there. The night happened. It happened to the man whose story you absorbed, who is currently serving a 12-year federal sentence and whose Guadalajara experience was extracted from debriefing records and layered into your identity. You know the night. You know the restaurant, the transaction, the associates present. You know the legend's version of the night completely. Felix was also there. He remembers a detail that your briefing files didn't include, a detail the original informant omitted, either from incomplete memory or selective disclosure, that Felix now raises with the specificity of a man testing whether you'll recognize it. A detail about what happened after the primary business was concluded. A specific location. A specific person. A specific thing that was said. You have approximately 3 seconds. In 3 seconds, you run the calculation. The detail is small enough that misremembering it could be natural. Memory of a night for years ago is not perfect. A slight variant on the detail, not a denial, just an imprecise recollection, could survive inspection if delivered with the right texture of casual confidence. The texture that says, I was there, I remember the broad shape of the evening, the precise edges have softened over time. That texture. You deliver it. Felix watches you for a moment with eyes that have the specific quality of eyes that have been watching people closely for a very long time. Then he nods, slowly, and the table resumes its conversation. You take a drink of water. Beneath the surface of that dinner, beneath the laugh that was real, beneath the performance that held, beneath the 22 months of work that did not unravel in those 3 seconds, something shifts. Something that was held together by the belief that you were managing this, that you were in control of the distance between who you are and what you're doing, quietly reclassifies itself. You held. The operation held. The thing that didn't hold was the comfortable fiction that you were still completely yourself inside it. The extraction window is 48 hours. Your handler says come in. You have enough material for a RICO case that will occupy federal prosecutors for a decade. The primary target. 11 associated 412 pages of documented organizational activity, corroborated by financial records your team has been building in parallel. It is, by the measurement of this work, a successful operation. You have also identified a secondary figure, a man not in the original case scope, peripheral enough to the primary network that your mandate doesn't formally include him, who is running a trafficking operation your team didn't know existed. Women. A specific corridor. A specific volume. Numbers that translate into a specific number of people inside a system that will continue operating with full efficiency after you come in, because there is no open case on this secondary figure, and the information you have on him is not yet in a form that generates an immediate arrest. You have 46 hours to decide how much of yourself you are willing to spend on a case that is not technically yours. You spend 32 of those hours running the calculation. Then you call your handler and give him what you have on the secondary figure in a form that his team can begin working immediately, in parallel with your extraction. It is not enough to generate an immediate arrest. It is enough to open a file. It is enough that the file exists. You come in at hour 46. The debrief runs 3 weeks. It is conducted in a facility that is quiet and climate-controlled and completely without external reference, no windows, no news, no contact with anything outside the operational review process. Psychologists rotate through. Case agents rotate through. You answer everything accurately and in full. On the final day, a senior official shakes your hand and uses a word that people in this work use carefully: exceptional. He says it with the flat effect of a man who has said it before and means it procedurally rather than personally. You understand this. You accept the handshake and the word with equal flatness. Then it ends. You sit in a parking lot in Albuquerque on a Tuesday afternoon in October, in a rental car, with nothing scheduled and no performance required and no one watching. The sky is the specific blue of high-altitude desert autumn. You sit for a long time. The person you were when you walked into this operation does not live at your home address anymore. You know this. You'll find out who does when you ring the doorbell. You start the car. You choose a direction. Somewhere, right now, a man who has been watching you for 6 months is writing something in a notebook. He notes your language skills, your adaptability, the way you move through a room without ownership. It isn't you this time. The system does not notice you left. It is already looking for the next person who can disappear into a room.